Here we have an example where we're solving a second degree, also called quadratic equation, by completing the square. 2y squared minus 5y minus 12 equals 0. Notice these are with y's instead of x's. It's just one variable. It doesn't matter what the name is. To do this problem, we want to refer to a note that we've seen, the note number 122. Now you can pull that note out, but I think I'll give you a hand by listing all the steps. There are 9 steps that we have in note 122. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the listing of all these steps, and then we can go back and fill it in. So let's just read them. Step 1, we're going to isolate the y's on the left side. Step 2, factor the coefficients of y's out of the parenthesis. Step 3, divide both sides of the equal sign by the coefficient. Step 4, add bracket 1/2 the coefficient of y squared to both sides. Step 5, simplify inside the brackets only. 6, simplify the right side. 7, factor the left side using the formula a squared plus or minus 2ab plus b squared equals parenthesis a plus or minus b to the second power. Step 8, we'll get rid of the second root, the second power, by taking plus or minus the square root of both sides. And then step 9, we'll solve for y, and we'll be finished. So we're going to apply all these steps to the given second degree equation. 2y squared minus 5y minus 12 equals 0. So let's start with step 1. Let us isolate the y's on the left side. To do that, we're going to move negative 12 to the right. And we move it over by adding 12 to both sides of the equal sign, and here is our result. 2y squared minus 5y equals positive 12. Okay, next step, step 2, factor the coefficient of y squared. That's a 2. Now here you have to be careful because you're asked to factor the coefficient of y squared, the number 2, but you have to factor it out of the entire left side. So it has to come out of every term on the left side. Remember, terms are added or subtracted together. That's how you identify them. Well, the second term is a negative 5y. How are we going to factor a 2 out of that? You have to ask yourself, what do I multiply 2 by in order to get that negative 5? And the answer is negative 5/2. If you don't believe me, go ahead and multiply the 2 times the negative 5/2. The 2's will cancel and you'll get a negative 5. So this is good factoring for step 2. Step 3, divide both sides of the equal sign by that coefficient 2 that you just factored out. So I'm going to actually write down the left and the right side of this equation, and I'm going to put a line underneath and divide by the coefficient 2 on both sides. The 2's cancel on the left. I get y squared minus 5/2 y equals 12 divided by 2 is 6. Step 4, add 1/2 times the coefficient multiplying y, and then bracket that and then square it. Add that to both sides. So the coefficient of y that we have here is negative 5/2. So we're going to multiply that by 1/2 and then square it in the brackets. So that gives us y squared minus 5/2 times y, and here it comes, plus bracket 1/2 parenthesis negative 5/2 bracket squared equals the other side 6 plus the same thing, half of negative 5/2 bracket squared. Okay, now we're going to step 5. Simplify inside the brackets only. Inside the brackets, we are multiplying fractions. A positive times a negative is a negative. Top times top over bottom times bottom. That gives us y squared minus 5/2 y plus bracket negative 5/4 bracket to the second power equals the other side, 6 plus bracket negative 5/4 to the second power. So all we did there was simplify inside the brackets only. Now this step takes some work. Step 6, where we simplify the right side, takes a few steps. So we bring down the left side, bring down the right side. Now look what we're going to do here on the right side. 6 plus bracket negative 5/4 squared. Well, negative 5/4 to the second power is a negative 5/4 times a negative 5/4, which gives us a positive because a negative times negative is a positive. 5 times 5 is 25. over 4 times 4 is 16. So now we have to add these two numbers together. One is a whole number, the other is a fraction. We can't add fractions unless we have a common denominator. So we have to rewrite 6 as some fraction over number over 16. And we figure out what that number is by multiplying 6 by 16 over 16. So on the top we have 6 times 16 equals 96 over 1 times 16 is 16. That's why we have 96 sixteenths plus 25 sixteenths. And now we're able to add the right-hand side. So that implies, bring down the left side, y squared minus 5 halves y plus bracket negative 5 fourths bracket squared equals the result of adding across the top on the fraction. You get 96 plus 25 equals 121 over the common denominator 16. So remember, when you add fractions, you add across the top and write the result over a single common bottom. You never add across the bottom. Now we're down to step 7. Factor the left side using the formula a squared. In this case, it'll be minus, because we have a minus sign after our squared term, minus 2ab plus b squared equals a minus b parentheses squared. Now you're going to apply that formula to what we have here, or you're going to just remember it as factoring the left side as parenthesis y plus the stuff in the bracket, including the sign, which is negative, so it's y minus 5 fourths, and then close the parenthesis and raise it to the second power. That is the application of the formula to the left side of our equation. And that equals, bring down the right side, 121 over 16. By the way, 121 is a nice number because it's a perfect square. It is actually 11 times 11. Let's go to step 8. Take plus or minus the square root of both sides. Well, on the left side, when we take the square root, all that does is eliminate the square. That's why we did it. We wanted to get rid of the square. On the right side, we have to take plus or minus the square root of the whole entire fraction. Now we're going to step 9, solve for y. Bring down the left side, y minus 5 fourths. Bring down the equal sign. Bring down the plus or minus, and then we're going to bust up the square root on the top and the bottom. Square root of 121 over the square root of 16. Well, the square root of the top is 11. The square root of the bottom is 4. So we get our y minus 5 fourths is equal to plus or minus 11 over 4. We were able to simplify enough to get rid of the radicals, so now we should break up our solutions to two answers. We're going to move the negative 5 fourths to the other side by adding it to both sides, and we'll break up the top and bottom, one with a plus sign, one with a minus sign. So we get y equals 5 fourths plus 11 fourths, which is add across the top, you get 16 over the common denominator 4, gives us 4. And for the other one, we have y equals 5 fourths minus 11 fourths, which is equal, subtract across the top, negative 6 over 4, which simplifies to negative 3 halves. So you see our answers, we have two answers for this second degree equation. Indeed, we can get a maximum of 2 solutions here. The answers are y equals 4 and y equals negative 3 halves.